It was a ghost, a phantom of an empire that had once ruled the known world. By the year 1453, the Roman Empire, which had endured for nearly 1,500 years, was reduced to a single, magnificent and dying city. It consisted of a series of walled villages, separated by vast, empty fields, all huddled behind the most formidable defenses ever conceived by man. This city was Constantinople, the jewel of the Bosphorus, the bridge between two continents, and the bastion of Christendom against the East. But across the strait, a new power had risen, young, hungry, and armed with a terrifying new ambition. A 21-year-old Sultan, Mehmed II, ascended the Ottoman throne, his mind filled with one idea: the capture of the Red Apple, the great city that had resisted his ancestors for generations. He would not be denied. This was not just a siege, it was a reckoning, a clash between the medieval world and the dawn of the modern age, where 1,000-year-old walls would face the most terrifying weapon ever built. For in-depth stories like this, one that changed the very course of history, be sure to subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell so you never miss an episode.
The Byzantine Empire was a shadow of its former glory. Its last emperor, Constantine XI Palaiologos, ruled over a depopulated, bankrupt city of perhaps 50,000 souls. He could muster barely 7,000 defenders, 5,000 local Greeks, and 2,000 foreign volunteers, primarily Genoese and Venetians. This small band was all that stood to defend 14 miles of legendary fortifications.
Their defense was anchored by the Theodosian Walls, a triple-layered masterpiece of military engineering. For 1,000 years, this 12-meter-high, 5-meter-thick inner wall had repelled every enemy. It had never, ever failed. To the north, the city's harbor, the Golden Horn, was sealed by a massive iron chain, blocking any enemy fleet. The defenders put their faith in God and in the stone that had never failed them.
But Mehmed II was not like those before him. He was a strategic genius, a student of history, and a patron of a new devastating technology. He assembled a colossal army, with modern historians estimating between 60,000 and 80,000 soldiers, including his elite fanatical infantry, the Janissaries. And he brought with him a monster.
His name was Orban, a Hungarian engineer and cannon founder. He had first offered his services to the Byzantines, but the impoverished emperor Constantine XI could not afford his price. So, Orban went to Mehmed. The Sultan asked him if he could build a cannon to breach the walls of Babylon itself. Orban said yes. The result was a super cannon, a bronze behemoth 27 feet long, capable of hurling a 1,200-pound stone ball over a mile. It was hauled to the gates of Constantinople by 60 oxen and hundreds of men. It was slow, capable of firing only a handful of times per day, but each shot was an earthquake. This was the new god of war, and it was aimed directly at the heart of the ancient world.
On April 6, 1453, the siege began. The bombardment was relentless. For 53 days, Mehmed's artillery
including Orban's monster and dozens of smaller cannons, pounded the ancient walls. The Theodosian Walls, built to withstand trebuchets and battering rams, had never faced such fury. Sections that had stood for a millennium were blasted into rubble.
But the defenders fought with the courage of the doomed. Under the brilliant command of a Genoese soldier of fortune, Giovanni Giustiniani, they worked tirelessly every night to repair the breaches, using barrels of earth, stones, and timber. For weeks, a desperate rhythm emerged. The Ottomans would blast a hole by day, and the Byzantines, under cover of darkness, would patch it. At sea, the small Byzantine and Italian fleet, safe behind the Golden Horn chain, managed to repel the Ottoman navy. On April 20, in a stunning display of seamanship, 3 Genoese galleys sent by the Pope, along with a Byzantine transport, fought their way through the entire Ottoman blockade and into the harbor. The city rejoiced. It seemed the walls and the chain might hold.
Mehmet was furious. Frustrated by land and humiliated at sea, he conceived one of the most audacious and brilliant plans in military history. If he could not sail past the chain, he would go over it. He ordered his engineers to build a 1.5-kilometer slipway of greased logs across the Galata Hill, which neighbored the city. On the night of April 21-22, in a monumental feat of labor and secrecy, his army dragged more than 70 of his smaller warships overland, up the hill, and down into the waters of the Golden Horn, completely bypassing the chain.
When the defenders awoke, the sight was one of pure, supernatural horror. The enemy was inside their sanctuary. The psychological blow was devastating. The city was now completely surrounded. The few defenders had to be stretched even thinner, manning not just the land walls, but the long, vulnerable sea walls as well. The end was near. The food supply was critical. The bombardment intensified. Giustiniani and his men fought on, but the walls were crumbling. Mehmed, sensing victory, offered a final chance to surrender. Emperor Constantine XI, standing on the brink of oblivion, gave his famous reply: "To surrender the city to you is not for me to decide, nor for any of its citizens. For we have all decided to die of our own free will, and we shall not spare our lives."
In the pre-dawn darkness of May 29th, 1453, Mehmed unleashed the final, overwhelming assault. Waves of attackers, thousands deep, were thrown against the walls. The exhausted defenders, led by the indomitable Giustiniani, repelled the first 2 waves. But then, disaster struck. Giovanni Giustiniani was mortally wounded. His withdrawal from the walls caused a panic among the Genoese defenders. At that exact moment, Mehmed unleashed his finest troops, the Janissaries. They swarmed the weakened defenses. A gate, the Kirka Porta, was rumored to have been left unlocked, and Ottoman troops poured in. Emperor Constantine XI Palaiologos, the last Roman emperor, was last seen discarding his purple imperial regalia. He led his last remaining soldiers in a final suicidal charge into the sea of invaders. He died as he had lived, a Roman fighting for his city. His body was never definitively found, The city fell. The 3 days of plunder, promised to the soldiers, began. It was the end of a 1,000-year-old world. When Mehmed II entered the city, he rode to the great cathedral, the Hagia Sophia. Awed by its beauty, he ordered it to be preserved and converted into a mosque. The fall of Constantinople was not merely the end of a city, it was the end of an era. It was the death of the Roman Empire, a state that had begun with Augustus and ended with Constantine the 11th.
It was a profound turning point in military history. The cannons of Mehmed had proven that no medieval wall, no matter how strong, could withstand the power of gunpowder. The age of castles was over. The fall sent a shockwave across Christendom. Scholars fleeing the city in the coming years carried with them the ancient Greek manuscripts and knowledge that would fuel the full bloom of the Renaissance in the West. But it also severed the old trade routes, forcing European powers to look for new paths to the east, a search that would lead Columbus just a few decades later to the shores of a new world. The Middle Ages had died in the rubble of the Theodosian Walls, and the modern age, born of fire and ambition, had begun.
If you found this journey into history's greatest turning points valuable, subscribe to our channel for more stories that shaped the world. And we want to hear from you. Let us know in the comments what historical event you believe we must cover next.